Okay, thanks. Good to see everyone. I'm Vicki Arroyo. I've been working on climate change for decades, and while we have collectively, globally made some commitments that begin to bend down the curve, we are far from where we need to be to avert catastrophic climate impacts. In fact, if you hear background noise, it's because of all the flooding that's happening in different parts of the US, and our police department here at Georgetown Law is having to move into the conference room next door because they flooded from some of the recent rains. Most of my career has been spent working at the federal and state level here in the US for governments and for think tanks and do tanks like the Pew Center on Climate Change and the Georgetown Climate Center, which I led for 12 years before joining the Biden administration as the Associate Administrator for Policy for 4 years. I'm also a native of New Orleans with loved ones who have lost homes and even lives from weather disasters. And I'm going to focus my remarks on the situation in the US with hopes that this might be helpful to others as well, both in understanding where we are in the US and about your own jurisdictions. Climate policy in the US, as with some other countries, has swung back and forth like a pendulum over different administrations. And there has not been sustained support or success for top-down policies implemented through congressional or agency action. In contrast, important progress has been made at the local and state level, even at times, perhaps especially at times, when federal leadership wanes. And this is not true of all states and cities, of course, but in many. In the US and around the world, subnational governments have played vital roles demonstrating what is possible, sharing best practices, and achieving scale from the bottom up versus the top down, using their own constitutional and state authorities in critical areas. So, for example, in the US, in electricity, that would be through state public utilities commissions, land use through state planning and local zoning efforts. Transportation planning, budget, and transit happens at the state level and local level. Economic development, such as supporting alternative energy investment. And for decades now, we've had states, not just the usual suspects like California, but also Texas, for example, New Jersey, and others, relying on increasing power from renewable energy due to policies and incentives that the states have had on the books, including promoting wind and solar. And this is before the IRA. California has recently announced that that huge state, one of the largest economies in the world, was powered by 2/3 clean energy in 2023. That's the last full year that data are available. And in 2024, California added a record-breaking 7,000 megawatts of clean grid capacity. Despite the failure of cap and trade legislation in DC, something I've worked on throughout my career, including bipartisan bills like McCain-Lieberman, ACEs, California and the states in the Northeast who are part of the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative have demonstrated success with policies to reduce and cap emissions, generating funds to invest in local communities, energy, clean energy, efficiency, and resilience. Trump 2.0, you might have seen, is not only ceding US leadership at the national level, but it's also attacking state and local efforts in vehicles, state Superfund laws, New York congestion pricing scheme, which is already bearing fruit. So it's really important to use the well-established authorities at the subnational level and communicate effectively to demonstrate the salience of climate and other benefits. For example, planting urban trees and investing in parks and other green space also lessens urban heat impacts, reduces greenhouse gas and other pollution, lowers energy costs, provides recreational benefits, improves physical and mental health, increases property values, improves resilience.
Vicki, we have to wind up for the final speaker.
Sure. So basically, my thesis is that quantifying and articulating this better is really important. We're already seeing wins, as I mentioned, in New York with the congestion pricing. So we need to document these well-established benefits and hold them up and learn from each other. So I'm delighted to be here and delighted that some folks in this group are already creating platforms to share this information. Thanks.